Hi there, welcome back to the channel, The Perspective of One. My name's Rick. Thank you for clicking. I hope you're having a good day. I was thinking today about a concept or a thought that I had, which I find because I've been in a role or in a job for a long time, that I noticed amongst people. And that's the question I had is, are you teachable? And are you really teachable? Are you actually able to take new ideas and try and figure them out, or are you kind of stuck in your ways and not able to change, right? So obviously through the years, when you're as you grow, you kind of have your opinions and your thoughts and your ideas, and you by and large gravitate to people around you who actually are similar, right? They might have similar hobbies or similar ideas or similar thoughts of how the world works. And with that, you kind of get cocooned, if you will. You're cocooned into understanding the world for what it is, and the things you don't understand, the things you don't believe in, you won't, and you will just stay in your lane, and then you will continue on. So when I thought about are you teachable, a few things came up in my life where I really thought I knew the answer. And obviously, as you're younger, you think you know everything. But in reality, as you age, you kind of realize that you don't know that much. You actually don't know anything. You know, you may have a lot of opinions, but they're kind of unfounded and they're not really based in experience. So you have a lot to learn. Now, growing up, obviously, you're taught a certain way, and I was taught certain things, certain thoughts, certain ideas, certain behaviors, and certain expectations out of people. Now, as I've grown, I've had to confront some of those expectations. I've had to confront some of the thoughts of the world, right? And that can be challenging. And as you see change in work, and as you've seen the changes in the world, you realize some people just cannot change, and I think fundamentally it boils down to as to whether you are actually teachable or not. And I don't mean teachable and like go back to school teachable, but I mean being able to move and change and offer your perspective on things, but really understand what's happening around you. And I don't think it's an easy thing to do. I think it's more of an observation that you have to have. So a couple of things that I realize is in order for me to change my perspective and in order for me to actually understand what was going on out there was to keep quieter than I normally would be. And I'd really listen. Now, we've heard the term active listening, but I'm not sure if we're actually know what that means. And I mean, really to stop and listen. Now, I'm the type of person who starts formulating answers to questions as the person is asking me a question. So if somebody had a question for me or had an opinion, immediately in my head I'm formulating the counter arguments, right? I'm trying to figure out, that's wrong, or no, they misunderstood this, or no, I'm going to challenge them on that. Now, in me doing that, I'm missing a lot of information, right? I'm missing really trying to understand. I don't mean like a fake kind of just nodding your head and yeah, I understand. No, I mean actually listening to what it is. What's the point of contention? What is it that's bothering that person? And how is it that, my thoughts are conflicted? So I've actually learned, obviously the hard way, making a lot of mistakes, but really trying to listen and to acknowledge and then to lay out what you think that person has said, and then kind of relay what you think you heard. And this has come up in a couple of different things, because we all see things, but sometimes we see things differently, and we all hear things, and sometimes we do hear things differently. And we all think we're all seeing the world in the same way, in the same light, and this is right and this is wrong. But sometimes it's a bit of an eye-opener when you hear somebody else's perspective on what actually they see or what it is that they hear. So a lot of the times, it's not really about learning something new. It's about unlearning old habits, right? It's unlearning the way we formulate how we think, and unlearning the notions that we have of what our perspectives are, right? And I think that takes some work to unlearn some of the defaults that we have in our brains and in our thoughts and in our minds, right? And then actually really receiving the information and then processing that information. It doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't matter what context it is. You know, it's not about, you know, any topic specifically, but really understanding and really changing your perspective, I think, takes a lot of work. And it does mean you have to unlearn a lot of the things that you may have thought of. And now I'm trying to think of something specific here, but it doesn't come to mind right now. But I think you get the understanding of that. You know, are you teachable? And saying, you're nodding your head saying yes you are, and then realizing sometimes, you know, it's more difficult than it is. Like, for example, at work, you know, computer systems keep changing and methods keep changing and rules keep changing, and that's one thing. You got to keep up with something in your work life, and we kind of get used to that. But I'm talking more in your personal life. If you run into things that you don't really understand or don't, and you go, no, you know what, I'm resistant to that because this is the way I think. So one of the things I started to do was to listen to things that I conflicted with. Right? I've been listening to opposite opinions. So no matter what it is, whether it's sports or whether it's politics or whether it's just what's going on in the world, you know, I grew up thinking one way, and now I actually go out looking for the opposite opinion. And I actually go out and see, okay, what is it that makes that person's perspective so different? And I've been trying to figure out where's the common bits, like where are the things everyone agrees on, and where do we just splinter off, and then, you know, where we have our differences. So I don't think it's easy, but I do think it's possible. But I do think we have to unlearn a lot of programming in order to really pay attention to what's going on.